The courtroom air felt heavy the moment the single father stepped forward, his worn shoes echoing against polished marble as if announcing his unworthiness before anyone spoke a word, while his ex-wife sat tall and confident across the room, her polished appearance and expensive lawyer already painting him as a failure in everyone's eyes. His shoulders were bent not from weakness but from years of carrying responsibility alone, years of sleepless nights, packed lunches, hospital visits, and silent prayers whispered over his child's bed. And yet, in that moment, all of it seemed invisible, erased by sharp glances and quiet smirks that judged him before the truth ever had a chance to breathe. If you believe that kindness still matters, that second chances can change lives, and that love often speaks loudest when it waits quietly, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel name right now, because stories like this remind us why compassion should never be silenced. He had not always been this tired-looking man standing alone in court. There was a time when life felt promising, when love felt permanent, and when he believed hard work could protect everything that mattered. His marriage once looked perfect from the outside, built on shared dreams and hopeful plans, but cracks formed slowly, hidden behind forced smiles and long silences. His ex-wife wanted more, faster, brighter, and louder, while he wanted stability, honesty, and time. When their worlds finally split, she walked away with confidence and connections, while he walked away with a child clinging to his leg in a future that suddenly felt fragile. Becoming a single father was not a choice he planned for, but it became the role he accepted with full devotion. Every morning began before sunrise, his alarm ringing in the dark while exhaustion still sat heavy in his bones. He learned how to braid hair with trembling fingers, how to cook meals on a tight budget, and how to hide fear behind reassuring smiles when his child asked why mom no longer came home. He worked longer hours at a modest job, often skipping meals so his child could eat better, often pretending everything was fine even when bills piled up and hope felt thin. His ex-wife, on the other hand, rebuilt her life quickly and loudly. She posted pictures of vacations, new clothes, and social events that made their past look like an inconvenience she had outgrown. When she decided to take him to court, it was not just about custody or money, it was about control and image. She wanted to prove that she had won, that she was superior, that he was nothing more than a mistake she had escaped. The courtroom became her stage, and humiliation became her weapon. As the case unfolded, every weakness in his life was placed under a spotlight. His income was called insufficient, his home described as inadequate, his long work hours twisted into proof that he could not be a good parent. Each accusation landed like a blow, not because they were true, but because they were spoken so confidently that truth struggled to defend itself. The single father stood quietly, his hands clenched, his heart racing, knowing that fighting back with anger would only confirm the image she wanted to paint. What hurt the most was not the threat of losing custody, but the feeling that his sacrifices meant nothing in this room. The nights he spent rocking his child through fevers, the weekends he skipped rest to attend school events, the dreams he buried so his child could grow safely, none of it seemed to count against the shine of money and appearances. He felt small, not because he lacked worth, but because the system seemed blind to quiet endurance. Then, just when the weight felt unbearable, when the room seemed ready to accept his defeat as inevitable, something unexpected happened. His mother, a woman who had sat silently in the back throughout the proceedings, slowly stood up. She was not dressed in expensive clothes, nor did she carry herself with dramatic confidence. Her hands were slightly trembling, her hair streaked with gray, her face marked by years of labor, love, and loss. But there was a steadiness in her eyes that commanded attention without demanding it. She had raised her son through hardship long before this courtroom existed in his life. She knew what it meant to stretch a single paycheck, to choose between necessities, to teach values without resources. She had watched her son grow from a boy into a man who learned responsibility early, who never ran from duty even when it scared him. And she had watched him become a father who loved fiercely, quietly, and without conditions. When she was allowed to speak, the room shifted. Her presence carried the weight of lived truth, not polished narratives. She spoke of character, of consistency, of what parenting truly looked like when no one was watching. She described mornings before dawn, evenings filled with homework and simple meals, and a child who slept peacefully knowing they were safe and loved. She spoke not with anger, but with a calm honesty that cut deeper than any accusation. She reminded everyone that wealth does not raise children, attention does. That appearances do not comfort nightmares, arms do. That parenting is not proven through words in court but through years of showing up when it is hardest and least rewarding. Her voice never rose, yet every sentence carried undeniable power, because it was rooted in observation, not opinion. The courtroom, once buzzing with judgment, fell silent. Even those who had dismissed the single father earlier found themselves re-evaluating what they had assumed. The ex-wife's confident posture faltered, her narrative suddenly exposed as shallow when compared to the depth of sacrifice being revealed. The contrast was impossible to ignore. One side offered shine and status, the other offered presence and perseverance. As the judge listened, it became clear that something had shifted beyond legal arguments. This was no longer just a custody case, it was a reflection of values, of what society chooses to reward and what it often overlooks. The single father stood there, still silent, tears burning behind his eyes, not from weakness, but from the relief of finally being seen. When the decision came, it did not feel like a victory built on triumph, but on recognition. Recognition that love does not always look impressive, that devotion often lives in ordinary routines, and that true parenting is measured by commitment, not convenience. The ruling acknowledged the stability and care the single father had provided, honoring the environment he had built through patience and sacrifice. Outside the courtroom, the air felt lighter. The father and his mother shared a quiet moment, one filled with gratitude rather than celebration. He understood then that strength did not always mean fighting loudly, sometimes it meant enduring long enough for truth to speak through those who knew it best. His child would grow up knowing that love had defended them when words failed. Life did not suddenly become easy after that day. Bills still needed paying, mornings still came early, and exhaustion still visited often. But something inside him had changed. He walked taller, not because he had won against someone else, but because he had been affirmed in who he already was. His child's future felt safer, anchored in a foundation of trust and care that no court could take away. The story spread quietly among those who had witnessed it, not as gossip, but as a reminder. A reminder that judgment should be slow, that humility carries strength, and that sometimes the most powerful voice in the room belongs to someone who has waited patiently to speak the truth. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of sacrifices made quietly by parents, grandparents, or guardians who never asked for applause, please take a moment now to like, comment, and share this video so more people can feel this message of hope and justice. Before we reach the end, leave a comment telling us who in your life represents silent strength and unconditional love, because stories like this deserve to be honored through shared gratitude. And as the screen fades to black, remember this: humiliation can be loud, but truth is patient, and love, when given time, always finds a way to be heard.